We are extremely happy today to welcome as our guest speaker Swami Ishadhyanananda from the Vedanta Society of Sacramento, where he's been assistant minister since August 2017. The Swami is a monk of the Ramakrishna Order, and before coming to America, he served the order as the treasurer of the Jamshedpur branch of the Ramakrishna Mission from 2013 to 2017. Prior to that, he was posted at the Belur Math Headquarters from 2008 to 2013. Swami Ishadhyanananda joined the Ramakrishna Order in 2002. He was initiated by Swami Atmasthananda, the 15th president of the Ramakrishna Order, and received his final monastic vows from his guru in 2012. Before joining the order during his college and university days, Swami Ishadhyananda remained in close contact with the monks of the Ramakrishna Order. Throughout his monastic life, Swami Ishadhyananda has contributed articles to various journals of the Ramakrishna Order. Apart from Ramakrishna Vedanta literature, the Swami also enjoys a keen interest in philosophy, positive psychology, and current ideas that are shaping our world today. The subject of his talk today is walking down the Wall Street of spiritual life. Swamiji, welcome.
Let me start with the chant. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvina Badhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the Supreme Spirit protect us. May the Supreme Spirit nourish us. May we work together with great energy. May our study be vigorous and fruitful. May love and harmony dwell amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto all. Good morning. My pranam to revered Swami Sarvapriyananda ji for having me here. And good morning, namaste to all of you. This is my first visit to New York and also second visit to the East Coast. As you heard, I was treasurer in one of our branch centers in India. When I went there, and I had no previous knowledge of accounting or investment or anything, but there was institutional investment I had to take care of. So I started digging in, trying to understand the basics of financial investments. And after some time, I got a hold on that, the basic principles of financial investments or stock market. And I also have a habit of finding similarities between different fields, especially similarities with spiritual ideas and in other fields. Okay. So as it happened, these ideas were incubating in my mind that there are many similarities between financial investments or stock market and our spiritual life. So in the Wall Street of the title in my talk refers to financial investment or stock market, and spiritual life refers to the spiritual journey of a seeker. And let me be clear at the very beginning, compared to what we hear from this platform, which is Vedanta extra strong, this will be Vedanta light. Okay. So there are many similarities I find between stock market and spiritual growth of an aspirant, but I would only speak about 3 principles. First one is regularity. They say that to be a good investor, you need to create the habit of investment. You have to consistently keep on investing. They call it follow the stash way. Follow the stash way. That is one of our main concerns in investment in stocks is when to enter the market, timing of the market. The idea is to buy low, sell high. And that creates anxiety in the mind of investors. So they say, get rid of that anxiety. Keep on investing every month, which is called, in India we used to call it SIP, Systematic Investment Plan. Here they call it dollar cost average. So a amount of money from your bank account will automatically be invested in stock market every month, or every month, twice a month, whatever it is, up to you, how you choose it. The point is to keep on beat the market. So you are bypassing the anxiety of when to enter the market. With time, it will be averaged out. No matter how volatile the market is, it will be, over the time, it will be averaged. So that is called follow the stash way or invest regularly. In spiritual life too, that is the first thing that we learn. In fact, I would say that the main goal of our monastic life or monastic training is to create the habit of regular spiritual practices. The first 10 years of our monastic life is considered to be although the whole monastic life is a training, but first 10 years is most intense, especially the 2 years that we spend in our monastic training center at Belur Math. One of the main goals is to inculcate in us that habit or foster the habit of regularity in spiritual practices. And that is what I find the most important thing in spiritual life. No matter, one of the very common questions we get, complaints from the practitioners, that what to do when the quality of meditation is not good. Someday it is good, someday it is not good. What to do? And the uniform reply, at least that what I give to them, is regularity. More than the quality of our spiritual practices, what matters is the regularity in spiritual practices. So it won't help us that if we meditate 1 hour daily in December, then next 6 months we don't do anything. Then again we feel like, let's start meditating. It really does not help us. Okay. So what we have heard, seen, and learned is that choose a time, choose your regularity, how much time you can do in the morning or in the evening, whatever suits you, and stick to that. That is very important. And if we look at spiritual aspirants who have become successful in their spiritual quest, the one thing common in all of them is regularity in their spiritual practices. Regularity. Even illumined people like Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, all the direct disciples we see, they were, even after illumination, they kept on doing their regular practices. Swami Brahmanandaji, Swami Shivanandaji, all the disciples, Holy Mother, they never used to skip their daily meditation or spiritual practices, whatever their spiritual practice was. So even all the great Swamis that I have seen in my life, short monastic life, one thing is common. They are very consistent in their spiritual practices. I had the opportunity of working under two general secretaries of the Ramakrishna Order, and they are the busiest people in Ramakrishna Order. At the least, you may say that the CEOs of the Ramakrishna Order, so busy a life, but in their busy life, they had their spiritual practices intact. Morning, evening, and study, sadhya, whatever, they never used to skip that. And that is what I found, the reason behind being so stable. Even all the going through all the daily correspondences and organizational issues, problems, they used to be so much steady. I even asked one of them, how can you keep so cool? Because you are at the charge of affairs and we are helping you. We feel like that there is so much going on, but we see you so cool. Then the Swami said, it is because of regular spiritual practices. So this is the first thing that comes to my mind, regularity in spiritual practices. That is most important thing in life. Ideas are great, what we read in the books here, or even we think ourselves. But to give those ideas a concrete shape, we need regular practices. Swami Atmasthananda, who was a great orator, he used to often say that ideas are plenty in this universe, in this world. But what matters are not ideas all the time. It matters conviction. How much conviction you have. And this conviction comes from practice, regular practices. So this is the thing we have to remember, a regularity. When we read scriptures like Bhagavad Gita or the Prakarana Granthas, primers by Acharya Shankara, very often we come across these words like satatam, sarvesu kaleshu, all the time, or as long as you are awake, as long you are awake and alive, do your spiritual practices, like whether it is yoga or Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, whatever it is. So what really it means all the time? I think that for us, all the time really means regularly. Regular. That makes so much sense. Whenever we find the time, sarvesu kalesu satatam, we may think them as regularly, consistently, every day. One problem of making a habit is, the question is how to make a habit, how to be regular in practices. There also we find that one principle of investment helps us here. The principle of investment is prioritize investment. That is, you think, you fix how much you want to invest every month. Then adjust your all the expenses accordingly. Not the other way around. Usually what the tendency of us is, spend, then whatever is left, then we shall invest that. They say, no, it should be other way around. In the same way, for a sincere spiritual seeker, the spiritual practices should be priority. That, for example, if I do 20 minutes of meditation in the evening or morning, that should be fixed. Other things we should try to manage. And that is what we see in the great Swamis. Swami Gahananandaji, who was 14th president of Ramakrishna Order, he was at the same time secretary of our busiest hospital center in Calcutta, 500-bed hospitals, very busy center, and frankly speaking, a lot of troubles and things like that. At the same time, he was Assistant General Secretary of the Ramakrishna Order. So in the daytime, he used to be in the hospital. In the evening, he used to come to Belur Math and do his job of being assistant secretaries. But people who have seen him closely, they say, Gahananandaji never missed his spiritual practices. So suppose he has come late from Seva Pratishthan, then work late in his office, go back, take a shower, do his regular daily spiritual practices, then he will eat, and no matter what the time is, then he will go to sleep. Okay. So another story I heard, once he and Swami Atmasthananda, who is my guru, they too went to Calcutta High Court. There were some legal issues going on. And on the same night, there was Kali Puja, Phalaharni Kali Puja, okay? The other Kali Puja that we have in June, in the month of June. So they went to Calcutta High Court, spent the day there. After that, they had to go to the lawyer's house, came back late in Belur Math. And whenever such, and Phalaharni Kali Puja, the speciality about that is, it is only for the monks. And it goes on from, say, 9 p.m. to morning 4 a.m. Whole night, the puja goes on, and only monks are present. It's a wonderful atmosphere. And they, both of them, never missed Phalaharni Kali Puja. But this day, on this day, that particular day, they came back to Belur Math from the lawyer's house late, around 9:30 p.m. or so. So others thought that Gahananandaji and Atmasthanandaji won't come. They just came back now. Within half an hour, they saw both of them present. And they were present throughout the puja. So this is the thing that don't miss, prioritize it. Because Holy Mother says that this is the tendency of our mind, that one day if we feel like, let's skip today, next day also we will feel like, let me skip today too. And that's how we lose the habit. And one of the signs of good habit is difficult to form, easy to get rid of, just the opposite of bad habit. So this is where we need our patience and endeavor to be regular and make it prioritize. And what if we don't find time really on a particular day? On that day too, don't skip it. That is what they say. Sit even for a minute. Sit even for a minute. And I find it is so interesting that, as I was saying, that SIP, Systematic Investment Plan, when I was in that center where I was the treasurer, I saw that there were many employees whose salary was not big, okay, small salaries. So I convinced them to go for this kind of investment, quite a few of them. And they were reluctant. What is investment, stock market? We don't understand. Go ahead. You don't have to understand. And start with the minimum. That is, there is a minimum that you have to invest with every month. So reluctantly they did. And after 4 years, after coming back here, I went back to India and went to the center. Some of them said, now we see the benefit. And 2 of them probably told me that we have doubled the amount. Because now we have seen over 4 years that even the least amount they have built up with compound interest and things like that. So even a little bit of what we find in Bhagavad Gita, Salpamapi Assa Dharmasya, even a little bit of spiritual practices help us a great deal. And the question might come, what about lump sum investment? Suddenly we get some, good deal of money. For example, a stimulus check. It's a lump sum investment, right? Yes, in spiritual life too, that once in a while, we should do lump sum investment. That is, take a retreat. Live a day in solitude. Okay, do more. If you have time more, do more. Do intensely, more intensely. But for that, we need a preparation of daily practices. If we don't do daily practices, certain amount of time won't help us much. We may think that 3-4 hours probably we will do, but since we have not trained our mind, that 3-4 hours won't help us much. So regularity is the first thing. And I see it in this way, that bicycle, which we call bike here, is just like riding bicycle. First, when we're trying to learn how to ride a bicycle, first we drag the bicycle, right? We have to carry the bicycle before we are learning. And afterwards, when we have learned how to, it has become so effortless, the bicycle then carries us. We don't have to do anything. It has become so effortless and natural. So first thing, principle which can never be overemphasized is regularity in spiritual practices. Second is crisis management. If we want that our investment help us at the time of crisis, then we have to invest when we are not in crisis, right? Suddenly I have not invested ever in my life, and suddenly I am in crisis. Then I think how to draw money from my investment. But I have nothing there. I have not saved anything there. We cannot draw them, right? In the same way, many people think or come to us, then suddenly there is something has happened, a calamity or a serious crisis. What to do now? Thing is that at that moment you cannot do much. What you have done earlier will pay now, right? Suddenly I have not done anything and a crisis has hit me, and now what is the spiritual solution right now? You cannot really do much now at that time. I feel like, it is just like, muscle pain. Suddenly you have a pain in a particular muscle group. At that time, rest and little bit of stretching. That is what you can do. But really you have to go to the root of the problem, strengthen the muscle when it is not in pain. Regularly you have to train your muscle. So in the same way, in spiritual life, we have to practice when things are going on fine. Take the example of the core practice of Vedanta, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, right? So we are learning the essence of Vedanta, then being intellectually convinced about the truth that we are not this body-mind complex. But in day-to-day life activities, we may not remember that. Especially at the time of crisis, we might forget everything that we have learned. Why? Because it was in surface level, in the level of the intellect. It did not become part of our life. We could not assimilate that. That is why Nididhyasana, Shankaracharya in Viveka Churamani says that Manana is 100 times more important than Shravana. And Nididhyasana, this Vedantic meditation, is 100 times more important than Manana. So the emphasis is that once you have got some degree of intellectual conviction, try to dwell on that idea. Dwell on that idea, because intellectually we might be convinced that we are not this limited body-mind complex. But there is bad habit. We have a long habit which die hard, which is called viparita bhavana. Viparita bhavana, that the habit die hard. For so many years or even lifetimes, we have thought ourselves body-mind complex that die hard. So how to counteract that? Meditation, Nididhyasana. So one Swami gave a nice example. He said, suppose you ask for coffee and with 2 spoonful of sugar, and the host pour 2 spoonful of sugar but forgets to stir the sugar, right? So they bring it to you and you think there is no sugar. So you might add on sugar but it won't sweeten. It is already there, you have to just stir it. Okay, in the same way, what we have learned, what we have heard, what we have read is already there. We have, for assimilation, for starting, we need to do Vedantic meditation or nididhyasana, especially when everything is fine, when we are not in crisis. Then only these practices will help us when we are in crisis, especially when we need them the most. So the second principle is that invest when it shines, so that it can help you when it rains. Same way in the spiritual life, when everything is fine, we feel that everything is going well, that is the time to do our spiritual practices. If we want our spiritual practices to come to our help at the time of crisis. And those who can do it, what happens to them? Sri Ramakrishna gives a beautiful example. Manimohan Mallik, a great devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, his son passed away. Probably he was a teenager. And after cremating his son, Manimohan Mallik comes to Sri Ramakrishna. It comes in divine, Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play. And everybody was thinking how to console Manimohan. He lost his son. Sri Ramakrishna said one very important thing. I love this example, what Sri Ramakrishna gave. What happens to those who practice regularly when everything is going fine, and versus those who don't do. Sri Ramakrishna says to Manimohan Mallik, but those who hold on to the Lord do not lose themselves in grief. After experiencing a few blows, they soon regain control over themselves. Have you not seen the plight of small fishing boats when steamers pass through the Ganges? It seems as if they are about to sink and cannot survive. A boat may even turn upside down, but the large 1,000-ton barges soon regain their balance after having a few jolts. Similarly, everyone will have to encounter a few jolts in the life. Swami Bhuteshanandaji, I just remembered, he used to give the example of Bobo doll, right? Bobo doll, which if you push it, it will tilt a bit, then come back. Bobo doll. So that is, he used to say that the benefit of spiritual practices. Some blows will come, it will unsettle us for a time being, but again we'll be back to our life. And we have seen that in our own life, that devotees who are steadfast in their practices, how calmly and gracefully they can face crisis. In a monastery where I joined, an elderly couple used to come every day and used to sit in the temple and meditate. Suddenly we saw that for a few days they were absent, and it was conspicuous that they were not here. So after a few days they came, and the Swami in charge asked what happened. They said, our only son, who was an executive in a multinational company in software, he died 3 days ago in an accident. And the Swami himself was stunned. How to console them? They said, for a day we felt like our world has collapsed. Then we discussed within ourselves that it was Sri Ramakrishna who gave us this son, he has taken away. So we have now regained our balance. There is, of course, it will take time to heal, but we have gained balance. So Swami told us, we are novices at that time. See, this is what happens one who holds on to God. That such a blow, yes, they for a while they were in trouble, but they again gained back their center of gravity. So this is the thing. Second thing, that if we want spiritual practices to help us in crisis, we have to invest solid time, quality time, spend quality time with spiritual practices when we are not in crisis. The third point is, and the last point is, remain invested. Remain invested. They say that in investment, time is more important than timing. That is, timing means when did you enter and when did you leave the market. People think that is very important. But expert, investors, they think, don't worry about that. Think about for how long you can remain invested. So think about long term. Have a long-term plan. Forget about the daily ups and downs. If we see the graphs of investment, Dow Jones or Nasdaq, S&P, we see sometime today 800 points gain. Next day 600 points lost. Okay, the daily graphs may be ups and downs. In spiritual life too, if we continuously check every day, am I growing spiritually? How good my spiritual practices are, how good my meditations are. We will see that someday it is good, someday it is not so good. Okay, but over the years, when we look back, we see that we have grown, just like stock market. Daily there were ups and downs, but if we look back, average 5 years back and now the market has grown. Or 10 years, the market has grown. But in a day-to-day, daily, if we look at the graph, there was ups and downs. So that's why Patanjali in Yoga Sutras, first chapter 14th, he says something very important about spiritual practices. He says, Satu dirgha kalo, nairantariyo, satkaro, asevito diro bhumi. That is, to gain a stability in spiritual life, one has to practice for a long time, consistently, and with love and dedication. Then only one can gain a steady hold, a growth. So thing is, remain invested for a long. I love the commentary of this aphorism given by Edwin Bryant, who spoke here. He compares that. If we compare our mind with a flower bed, and success in spiritual life as a bed of beautiful flowers, then our worldly tendencies can be compared with weeds. And he says that any master gardener knows that to keep a beautiful garden, one has to continuously weed. So worldly tendencies come back again and again. That is why it takes a long time to grow spiritually. It happens bit by bit, very slowly. So spiritual growth is not even, but over the years we see the changes. And in that respect, we have to remember another principle from investment, that hold on to your main stocks. Okay, there in your portfolio, there are some main stocks which you should remain invested with. Other stocks you can experiment with, buy and sell, but there are some stocks you should be invested. You should never let go of. So that is the main spiritual practices, what we have received from our gurus. Hold on to that. hold on to that. If we dig here and there, this practice, that won't help us much. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example, right? One who digs here and does not find water, and digs another place, does not find water. They can't find water anywhere. So with main spiritual practices, the main stocks, we should remain invested for a long time. But there are other options. Of course, there are many other practices, right? We have so many options to choose from that we should keep on doing. But the main practice, what we have received from our Guru, that is the main practice, main stock that will yield the real result in our life. So that is, the third principle is remain invested for a long time, and if we can remain invested over the time, we'll see that we look back and we see, yes, there has been real solid gain in our investment portfolio. So these are the three principles. I would summarize: regularity in spiritual practices. Second, practice when things are going fine, so that they come to your help when you are in crisis. Third, remain invested for a long time. Don't worry too much about your day-to-day ups and downs in spiritual practices or state of mind. Okay, if we can do that, then we can be sure enough that our investment portfolio in spiritual life, after some time, will look very healthy, and they will help us when we need them the most. And I will conclude with an inspiring story that I have heard from other Swamis who were present at that moment. That what happens to those who remain invested for long and does their spiritual practices regularly. So this is about a Swami whose name was Swami Atmasthananda ji. He was a very revered Swami and head of the monastery where I joined. I did not see him because he passed away before I had joined. So I had heard from other Swamis this particular incident, that it is a student's home. Okay, college-going students stay there in very ashrama atmosphere in Calcutta, suburb of Calcutta. It's a large place, 33 acres, and very idyllic, wonderful place to be. So one day, this Swami asked his assistant Swami that serve the dinner to the boys at 7 p.m. tonight. Dinner is served for the students at 9 p.m. So the Swami said, why? He said, there will be fun tonight. Mm-hmm. Fine. And this Swami was really very, jovial, and he used to make so many jokes with students. So the Swami thought probably he will tell some very interesting stories and interact with the students. So it was done that day, and the boys were so happy, and also, why today at 7 p.m.? And so they came and had their dinner, and this Swami then called all the Swamis, not only the assistant Swami, all the Swamis, and said, boys have had their meal? They said, yes. Well, okay, now, all of them, now look at me. I am going to pass away right now. And the breathing that is happening, you see, this is the last breath. He started, grasping for breath. He said, this will happen to all of you. All of you will go through the same thing. And what you should do at that time, what you have done all through your life. Saying that, he took his rosary in his hand, started counting his beads, offered his pranam to Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Swami Vivekananda, and just passed away, glided to the other world. Okay, so in this incident, he showed so many things. One thing is that he's concerned for the students. He knew, because he passed away around 8 p.m. Had it been so, the dinner would have been in jeopardy at that day. So the students don't get affected by that. Then he showed the other Swamis that what to do at the time of death, the biggest crisis in our life. And also he instilled in their mind that at that time you should do what you have done. Okay, that is, do it regularly. If we can do that regularly, then definitely we shall have success in our spiritual life. This is my talk. And by the way, I have not seen Wall Street yet. Tomorrow I am supposed to. So I shall close with the closing chant. Om Madhubata Ritayate Madhuksharanti Sindhavaha Madhir Na Santoshadhihi Madhunaktam Uta Sasi Madhumat Parthivagam Rajaha Madhudvau Astuna Pita Madhumano Banaspatir Madhumagam Astu Suryaha Madhir Gabo Bhavantunaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Sweet blow the winds, and the oceans give forth blessedness. May the herbs and plants bring us health and happiness. Sweet unto us be the nights and dawns. May every particle of Mother Earth be charged with blessing. May the heavens shower us with benediction. Sweet unto us be the noble forest trees. Sweet unto us be the shining sun. Sweet unto us be all living creation. Om, sweetness, harmony, peace.